Hi guys, and welcome to another video from Stupid as a Norm, the channel where we demonstrate how to become a millionaire in 10 years whilst earning only minimum wage. And in this video I want to explain to you the concept of a financial base camp. So a financial base camp is a position from which you take stock from where you've come from, what you've done and what you've achieved, and you use it as a base to push forward. I'm using the mountain climbing analogy here, because a base camp is a camp where you are secure, where you won't be pushed further back from, but it's also a base from which you're going to thrust forward towards the top. Now there is no right time or amount of money accrued until you set your base camp. Again, like much of what I'm doing here, there's no right way of doing it, it's what's right for you. But I think I'm going to hit my base camp before July next year when I buy the 5th property, and we'll take the portfolio value to about £500,000. And it's from there I'm starting to think, I've got this far now and I want to secure it to make sure that I don't lose it so nobody can take it from me. So what I did was I made a list of the threats that I thought could take all this gains that I've made thus far, and then I took some actions, I wrote some actions after the list of each item where I said, well, this is what I'm going to do to protect myself, to make sure this can't be taken from me. The first thing on the list was a large bill. I'd come across this issue on the first property I bought when I had to replace the roof unexpectedly. So I know what that was like, and I know how that threatened the project. So I have quite a precarious living right now, and I wouldn't choose to do it had I not put myself in a corner and give myself 10 years to do this, because I've been stupid all my life and left it too late. But what I did was, or what I do rather, is that I save up money close to £30,000, and then when I've done that, I buy a property with it. But what that does, it takes the bank account quite high when I'm in a secure position. But then the day after I buy the property, the bank account goes down to almost zero. And so there's a precarious bit there where I've got to wait 5 to 10 months when I've got enough in there should a problem arise, an emergency arise, and I've got to dip into that fund. But that's a precarious 6 months. So what I want to do, rather than buy the 6th property, is not buy this 6th property until I've got £20,000 saved up in my stocks and shares ISA. So it might delay the project a little bit, but I'm hoping the income from other things will restore that balance and keep me on target. But what it does do more above all else is that it protects me for any large bills coming in, because boilers only last every 10 years, and by that time we've got 5 properties, so expect a boiler to burst or at least to pack in every 2 years. So there's £1,000 plus I've got to foresee for the future, and I need some money in an account to make sure I'm covered and it doesn't threaten the project on its whole. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to save about £20,000 in a stocks and shares ISA. The next thing on my list was illness or ill health, something that stopped me from going to work as a cab driver and saving £1,000 a month towards the project. So I've always been fortunate enough in that I don't generally get ill, I don't need to go to the doctors, anything like that. My wife says I do actually, but that I just push through, which is probably closer to the truth. But ill health, a large problem, could slow me down. So I want to prevent that, and there's only so much I can do to do that. I'm 62 years old, so the normal aging process is happening, but I can slow it down a little bit, or at least stack the odds in my favor. What I've done in the past, I've always been a keen runner ever since I was in the forces, and if I'm honest, I've stopped doing so much of that, and I guess that could come down to age, and it could come down to working 60 hours a week and not being bothered to do it. But I'm really going to get back into running. I'm going to go for a run this afternoon. That'll be the 3rd time this week, and I want to keep the runs up to about 3 or 4 times a week. I think I'm drinking too much, so I've knocked that in the head Monday to Friday. So I only drink on a Saturday afternoon now, or a Saturday evening, and hopefully trying to take 6 dry days a week. And again, there's no guarantees that this will work or make me feel any better, but again, it just stacks the odds in my favor, so I avoid ill health issues. The next thing on my list, the next threat on my list, is government meddling. The government and local authorities, for that matter, could meddle in a number of ways and prevent me from hitting my target. They could do things like put up tax rates, which naturally means I've got less money to invest. I've mitigated that a little bit because I bought the last property, the serviced accommodation property, and future properties through a limited company, so I'm not exposed to the tax of a person buying in his own name. Limited companies have a lower taxation level, so that'll help me there. And I've always said I'm already going to put some cash into stocks and shares ISA, so I'm spreading the investment of the asset class and not being wholly in property but predominantly in property, because I need the growth in order to do this thing in 10 years. I guess other ways the local authority can slow me down, or the government for that matter, is they reduce the amount of second properties that a person can buy. That could throw me off the project if you wish, but again, I think I'd probably just put more money into stocks and shares ISA. Local authorities can And they do on the serviced accommodation property in Hartlepool. What they do is, if they find out it's a serviced accommodation, they ask you to apply for a change of use, which slows the process down. Doesn't mean you won't get it, it just means they're trying to limit the amount of serviced accommodation. And again, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. That isn't an issue right now, but all these things could threaten us, and it's just as well to be aware of them and then prepare for them should they ever come. Next on my list is a divorce. That would hurt. Although it's not imminent, it's not even on the horizon, but you know, it's a possibility. Whilst I've been doing this project, I'm just over 5 years into it now. The rest of my family have not been involved in as much that they haven't had to work more, they haven't had to make the sacrifices I do, other than the fact that I spend less time with them. And I've got to be careful not to neglect my beautiful wife. So what I'm going to do this year for the first time in 5 years is I'm going to take her away for a holiday. If that doesn't happen, by the way, if circumstances change, she'll be none the wiser because she doesn't watch these videos. But it's something I have to look at, is make sure that on this journey you don't neglect your family. It's important to be obsessive about the goal, but not to the exclusion of your marriage, I would say. The most likely threat, and probably the only existential one, is that I lose my main income. If I lose my main income for whatever reason, maybe the company shuts down or I don't know, whatever reason, it's the danger that many people are in. If they only have one source of income, the chances of losing that are a great possibility, and it threatens your livelihood. So I've wanted to do something about that for a long time, which is the reason why that I'm going to write this book in July. I'm going to publish it in July. It's already written. I'm going to start the subscription site. I'm going to start a consultancy service, because I genuinely get worried that if for whatever reason I can't do this cab driving job and I lose £1,000 a month of saving or contribution towards the project, then that's going to hurt me the most. So I would urge you to do what I do and try and look for ways of getting second incomes in, to make sure you're not dependent upon this one big number that comes in every month, and it's this one big number, or the lack of this one big number, that could threaten your lifestyle. The next threat is interest rates. If you're watching this sometime in the future, it's January 2024, and interest rates have just come off their peak, so they look like they're heading down, so that won't be an issue. But it's something to concern myself about in the future. One of the things I want to do in the future is, once the project's finished, is to reduce the size of the mortgages down to 50% of the purchase price, not the value, the purchase price. Whatever I bought the property for in the first place, I want to get it down to the mortgage down to 50% of that, because that will protect me from any future interest rate rises. And they will come, not now, they're dropping right now, but they will come, because we get a recession on average every 10 years, not just in this country, but across the world. And when a recession comes, interest rates get lower to try and stimulate the economy, but quite often the interest rates are high before that. So you go through the cycle of boom and bust, and one starts the other, and one takes us out and heads us towards the other one. So they come, it's cyclical, and it comes every 10 years. So you have to be prepared for them. So that's what I want to do in the future, is get the mortgage amount to 50% of the purchase price. So there's the problems as I see them, any potential threats, and what I intend to do about them to protect myself from them. Will they work? Who knows? As I've said many times before, there are no guarantees in life. But if you're aware of potential problems and you can take steps to mitigate them, you're better prepared. Don't be stupid and don't be normal, guys.